I'm excited, Harry.
You're excited?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't get myself to be too excited. I don't know why. It's just because it's an interesting topic. It's you would laugh at this, because
We're starting.
the idea. Okay, we are starting.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Vitality Academy's talk with Dr. Harry Ramnarine. Tonight, we are talking on the third side of a coin, which I love because what I love about Dr. Harry is he talks about topics that truly expand your way of thinking, your way of perceiving the world, and open you up to possibility and really make you a greater person on this world. And just if you don't know, Dr. Harry, he has over 40 years of experience, 44 if I remember correctly, maybe 45 now, as a medical professional. He is the founder of the Ishtara Centre in Shogunas, which is located in Trinidad and Tobago. And for those who are on the call for the first time, welcome. We're super happy to hear you and have you here. Let us know where you're from in the chat. And then what I will do is I'm about to disappear. And for those who have questions or challenges, I will work in the background to help and assist and be there to help you. So tell us where you're from. And with that, welcome, Dr. Harry Ramnarine.
Thank you, John, and good to see you, John, as well, and face to face for the while.
That's right.
And welcome everyone, wherever you might be tuning in. And the quest to continue the journey of an enlightening life is with us. And today is the ninth day in the month. Actually, the day is defined by the number 9. And I love number 9. That's one of my favorite numbers, because the 9 is always for me the infinite. It's connected to the infinite because it has the power to give any other number back its power, and takes any number and brings it back to 9. So I'll give you an example in simple mathematics. If you take 3 multiplied by 9 equals 27, which is a 9. And 3 added to 9 is a 12, which is a 3. So 3 and 9 and 3 and any number actually they're always very connected. Having said that, now I chose many years ago, I did a talk in Tobago, maybe 20 years ago, on the third side of the coin. And I really don't remember what I did at that time. And when I was asked to do this webinar, I thought maybe just the third side of the coin. And it's interesting that I really started, and when I came here about half an hour ago, I really had no idea what I'm going to talk about, because I felt I'd give myself the opportunity to just have a chat with all of you, to make it so simple that it's really down to earth. And I hope I can give you some good tips and some exercises, make it very practical for all of you listening. But at the same time, very down to it, but hopefully we'll also be able to reach and touch the stars as well. So let's start. I had mentioned that the essence of all of it is summarized in 3 words: Sat.Chit.Ananda, or Ananda, which means Sat means being, Chit is related to awareness or consciousness, and Ananda is bliss, or you can say joy. So being, awareness, joy. And at the same time, we always think that life for us is a gift, but I don't see that life is a gift. It's our natural state. And intelligence is an aspect of life. It's intrinsic to life. That is, if you look at nature, every aspect of nature is intelligent. You can see the insects, the young, small animals, the big animals, the trees, they all have intelligence. A mango tree knows how to create mangoes in a way. But human beings, we have a mind, and it takes us into another level of intelligence. So at the same time, we all have the capacity for intelligence. And I have always defined intelligence as the ability to face the unknown and to be able to deal with it, to be able to confront it, to all the challenges of life from intelligence. The unfortunate thing for us is that we have switched from intelligence into knowledge. And today we live in an informational age where we are so loaded up with information. And we'll continue looking at that in some way. But before we go further, what I would like a little game with all of you to participate with me. And I want all of you to imagine where you are sitting right now, wherever you are, to have a feel of where you are in your space, maybe in a space like a house, in a country. And then think of yourself as being in the enlarged country, and even take yourself a bit further away from the country into the Western hemisphere or the Eastern hemisphere, wherever you might be. And then think of yourself just being on the planet. So I started by being a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, but right now I'm a citizen on the whole planet, Earth. And now think of yourself as being a part of the solar system. And now further than that, think of yourself as being in this galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. Can you take yourself to that level? And then let's look at the universe. You're part of the universe. You're a child of the universe. And think of yourself as coming from the source, the very source of the universe. You are the source. You're projected out of the source. I've said in this webinar that you are organic pixels emanating or projected from the source. We have that connection. We are the source. We are life. Life is natural to us. And now, wherever you might find yourself expanded into a huge universe in terms of your own consciousness, I want you to look at your finger. Let's say any thumb or any finger, and look at your fingerprint. And when you look at your fingerprint is actually a unique, very unique. You are unique. No one has that fingerprint on this planet. No one probably in the past or no one in the future will ever have your fingerprint. You are a unique human being, a person that there's no other like you. Now, we can consider that already to be extraordinary, but we don't even have to use that word. We can use the word ordinary, but totally unique. And we don't have to try to be better than anyone, because we are just what we are. We are the divine, we are the source manifesting in a form that we are at the moment, wherever you are sitting. And you don't have to compete with anyone. You don't have to be better than anyone on this planet. You're a special edition, something that is projected in this time frame on this planet, on planet Earth. So I'll leave you with those thoughts, with your mind a little bit open, your spirit expanded into the universe. You're connected to the source. Now, in talking about Sat.Chit.Ananda or Sat.Chit.Ananda, I thought of looking at the concept, and all of this is just happening because I haven't given seriously a lot of thought to this. I just wanted to see how we both interact, and you listening to me and I'm talking, what comes out of it at the end of it. And hopefully we find ourselves a little bit better than we started. So I'm going to switch a little bit into an interesting concept, and that is the idea of Sat.Chit.Ananda. You can look at this as if it's related at a physical level to your chakra system, these 7 energy centers. And from the neck downwards, the 5 chakras from the neck downwards, from the throat chakra all the way down to the base, is equivalent to the state of being, the state of existence that connects to you with a physical body. The next state, which is Chit, which is awareness, it relates to the brow chakra. And the other state, which is bliss or joy, is connected up to the top, this crown chakra. So you have 6 chakras in the physical body, with the one at the forehead being the one that is connected to awareness. By the way, this is interesting that, the ancient Taoist concept is that we always had 2 brains. One brain is held in the closed box called the skull, which is this. and the other brain is held in the abdominal area. And that is actually connected to a very spiritual center. In the Chinese concept is called a dantian. The word dantian means a ball of light. That dantian manifests itself in a physical form in a way that we can recognize it from an anatomical description as the solar plexus. Not the solar plexus chakra, but the physical solar plexus. Now, it's interesting that when you look at the two brains that we have, the one at the top and the one at the below, what has happened to us over the ages, we have been hijacked. What has happened, instead of the abdominal brain being the place of what I consider to be being and just being ourselves, we function from that level, and that is the dantian, then we would have been totally all filled with light and love, and the expression of our intelligence and life is basically love. It's the fragrance that we all, each individual, carry around us, and we emanate into the universe. And that love is not connected to just a love of one thing. It's connected to the whole, the entire whole. So when you look at the solar plexus center and the dantian, they're connected. And I just want to refresh your minds by saying that everything in the universe is made up of three components. One component is actually the physical component, and I can say, if you think of a piece of gold, and it's a yellow material, and that's physical, and that's material, matter. When you go to the energy level of that, the vibrational level of gold, you're talking about the atoms of gold, which is going to be different from the atoms of copper and hydrogen and so on. And that is at the atomic level. At that level, you have a lot of energy vibrating with small or tiny particles, electrons and protons and neutrons. And then you go to the third level, considered to be the informational level, where you have subatomic particles, electrons and quarks and so on. So those are the three levels. Everything in nature is a holy triad. So you and I, we have a physical body, we have an energy system, and we have an informational field. And that informational field should really be the sum total of your lower dantian manifesting through your solar plexus. What has happened to human beings is that being very vulnerable, when we look at the entire animal kingdom, at birth, most animals are far more advanced than a human baby, a child at birth. We are very vulnerable. In fact, if you don't look after a baby, the baby will not be able to stay alive for too long. If you think of a horse or even a cow or any other animals, as soon as they're born, within a short space of time, they could take off and get off and start moving around and fending for themselves to some extent, much more advanced than a human being. So going back to the human being, the thing is that we are very vulnerable. If you look at a baby at birth and you see a baby lying on its back, what you see moving when the child is breathing is the belly moving in and out, and the baby is breathing from the diaphragm, and the baby is filled with the energies in that lower dantian. It's so filled that the baby is at peace, the baby is healthy. But then as the baby is growing up older and old, becoming more, let's say, advanced with age, something happens. We move from that center, which is the lower energy center, the solar plexus area, the lower dantian, and the brain, which is considered to be the solar plexus. We move up to the skull, the closed box area, and we become enclosed, and all our information gets in there. And at the end of the day, you know what happens? All human beings are programmed. We are all programmed beings. I want you to all look at yourselves and look and see if you're really authentic, if you really think for yourself, if you really can create things on your own. Do you really have intelligence that pushes you from within and expresses itself outwardly? And see if your behavior and everything that you do is not literally all the programs that we have been taken on from the time of birth to now. And my own observation is that most people are programmed. We are running all these programs. Sometimes they are at the conscious level and sometimes they are at the subconscious level. And at the end of the day, we are really not ourselves. We are a product of our parents, our teachers, our religion, and even everything around us in society. So we have very few people who think for themselves. Getting back to the area that we are looking at as the lower dantian, as it's called, or the dantian, that's the site. In some literature, it is said that's the seat of the divine inside of us. Now, just as we're talking about two brains that we have, the one above has taken over everything and has become very rational, very logical, and we think from that level. And that's what has happened to us. If you can think of the Sat.Chit.Ananda, the three different levels, the first level at the lower abdominal area, the second level, which is the state of being. And if I were to get up and say that this is the state of being, and then we move further away from that and we come to the place of the thinking, then there's a connection, a physiological and anatomical connection between the two areas. One area is like a bowl, an open, that's the pelvic bone. And the other area is a closed box, it's called the cranium. And there's a link between the sacrum, which is a part of the pelvic bone. And as I've always said before, the sacral bone is the most important bone in the body. It's the most important bone. That's where energies are generated. The divine energies are generated from that spot. That energy moves up via the spinal column and moves up towards the brain. So there's a link at the state, when we talk about the state of being, which is Sat, as in the triad, the word Sat.Chit.Ananda, is that the beginning, the state of being, is actually connected to our physical structure. And that physical structure is related to the cranio-sacral area. There's something interesting in the brain called this cranio-sacral circulation, cerebrospinal fluid and a circulation. It starts in the ventricles and it goes around the brain and down the spinal column. And the state of your consciousness, the state of your awareness, has a lot to do with the quality, the vibrations of what is happening in that cerebrospinal fluid. And that influences the entire body. Now, the most important bone forms a part of the pelvic floor, the pelvic structure. And that bone, in most of the people on this planet, is actually turned inwards rather than outwards. And when this turn inwards, what happens to us is that there's very little energy flow going up the spine, getting actually into the dantian. So at the state of being, we are just fundamentally what we are. And we are creative beings. All the energies come up from that. And when you actually get that energy flowing upwards, and it's now literally tainted by the way we think, what happens to us is that very little comes up into our brain to enlighten the brain. In terms of the other center in the brain, the other area in the brain, the cranium, you have a skull, you have the brain tissues in there, and at the same time, the next most important bone we have talked about is the sphenoid bone, and that exists somewhere between my two fingers. It's like a butterfly, and the sphenoid bone is sitting somewhere smack in that area, but it's connected to every other skull bone, meaning the parietal bone, the temporal bone, the frontal bone, parietal bone, the temporal, and the occiput at the back. They're all connected to that sphenoid bone. And therefore, the movement and the flow, the vibration of that bone is so important for everything that happens in your brain. In the same way that the sacral bone, if it is fixed and not having small motion, movements, and vibration, the entire pelvic area becomes troubled, becomes pathological. In order for you to get that bone to move, that's the sacral. So I'm going to take the time to show you how you can get that bone. And if you practice on a regular basis, over a period of months, that bone will eventually come out and you will have a better flow of energy. So I'm going to move back a little bit. And I've given you this exercise before, where you actually put your hands like this, up in the air, and stretch and go up on your toes, up and down. And this is the simple exercise that you can do that will help gradually with the bone, the sacral bone coming back to its original position. It takes time and it takes effort because it's many years of programming that causes the sacral bone to be turned inwards. When that bone is turned inwards, it's locked, and there's very little energy, very small amount of energy moving up the spine. That's one problem that all of humanity faces. The next thing is, how do you get the energies to move up the spine? And I'm going to teach you a technique. I've never taught people this before. It's what you're seeing here is actually a right hand conch shell. So if I'm putting this in front of the camera here and I look at it this way, you would see that this is on the right side. Most of the shells that exist on the planet, they're usually left-handed conch shells. This is a right-hand one. So I'm going to teach you all how to make a right-hand conch shell with your hands. So let's do that together. So take your right hand. This is my right hand here, and I'm going to clasp my thumb like this, like that. Then the left hand comes in like this. And now what I'm going to show you here now, it's a right hand. This is the right side, a right hand conch shell. It's a special posture, holding the hands in a special position. So let me give it again. You start like this. Your right hand is out here. You take your right hand and you hold the thumb. Clasp the thumb. Then you bring them together. So your index of the left finger touches the thumb. And there you have a right hand conch shell. That's where the opening is on the right side. So I hope everybody got it. I'm going to do it one more time. So what you're going to do, this is my right hand here waving you. You're going to hold it like this, grasp, clasp, and then bring it like this. So 3 times, I'm sure you got it by now. When you do this and you hold this and you sit, you stand, and you breathe in and out, in and out, and you continue breathing, you are actually moving energies from the sacrum up the spine. So if you want to get the energies moving up the spine in the right spin, the correct spin that is, you use a right hand conch shell. That's what it is. Which is the opposite of that is actually doing the opposite. Don't do this. That's a left hand conch shell. It's the opening is on this side, the left side. So let me just not confuse you. Right hand, grasp your thumb, and you create that. And you can put this against your chest while you breathe, or you can hold it in front of you while you breathe. And as you breathe, the energies from the sacrum moves up, and you allow that energies to move up into your brain region. Now, how do you activate the sphenoid bone? That's a very simple exercise. It's one of the old ancient Taoist exercises of heavenly drum. So what you do is actually you take your middle finger or index finger. I like to use the middle finger, and you look at my air. You're pressing it and shutting the air canal closed. On this side, you do the same, and now you tap. You're tapping with your index finger while you're concentrating on the sphenoid, and you are actually breathing in and out. All the techniques you're using, breath. So those are the techniques to move the energies up and enhance the state of being. In doing that, you actually will enhance your dantian. And I'm going to give you a little later on another exercise that will work for the solar plexus, because let's go back now to the solar plexus region. And the solar plexus region is actually overworked. It's always very busy. And what is happening to our solar plexus? Because we have taken on so much. And most of life is actually very stressful. Every day we confront ourselves, or we are confronted with problems, challenges. And most of the time we fall with it, we collapse. And what is happening is that the energies of the solar plexus gets into so many different contortions, and the energies then turn around, become pathological. Now, the exercises we're just giving you is to move energies up and clear the pathway throughout the entire body. So we have just touched on the state of Sat, which is being, and that being connects the pelvic floor, the pelvic bone, and the sacrum there with the spinal cord and up here. So that's the first level of enhancing your life and your energies. So the first exercise, I'll recap quickly again, is standing up, stretching, put your hands up in the air like this. And what you do is going up on your toes and back on your heels, up and down. And I would recommend, you will ask questions, how many times do I do this and for how long? I would say, today's a 9 days, so 108 equals 9 as well. And do it for about 108 times up and down. But if you're new to this type of work, then I would suggest start with about 30 and slowly increase until you get it. And I would suggest every morning you wake up, first thing in the morning, as soon as you wake up, that's what you do. It enhances a whole lot of your flow of energy by bringing the sacral bone into action. The next thing is how to move the energies between the sacrum and up into the brain. And that's your right hand conch shell. And when you do that, immediately that energy is now free to flow up to the brain region. And it's up all through all the chakras. The next thing is the heavenly drum. That has an influence on the sphenoid bone. Just remember that you need to loosen up the sacral bone in the pelvic region, and you need to loosen up the sphenoid bone. And when those are more or less active and vibrating slowly, small movements, then everything is going to be a lot better for you. When you're in the state of being, the thing is that you will function from your solar plexus area, the lower dantian. And these exercises I've just given you will help to enhance the flow, remove blockages. We all carry, in all my work so far, one of the first things I look at is how many blockages do you have? Blockages in the meridians, blockages in the chakras, blockages in the space between the end point of the nerve system and the tissues and organs. So we all have a lot of energy blockages, and a lot of illnesses start with blockages. And just this first stage takes away a lot of blockages in your life, in your body, and helps you to attain a better state of mind and health. The next stage of this is looking at this center, the brow center, and that's the chit. And as I said before, we are constantly thinking. And the only way that we could build more of the lower dantian, again, that energy center, and bring us back to our state of being, rather than just what is feeling and thinking, we need to stop that. I remember many, many years ago in Germany, there was a doctor who said to us, the two poles, this is being down here, this is feeling, and this is actually thinking. And human beings are just thinking too much. And we are not so much feeling and not so much being. Now, being is where we should be. And then you might say, well, we're not in our heads anymore. Then I'll tell you, you can function with a greater level of intuitive activities in yourself and in your life when you function from the state of being. And that's where you need to be. See, we are so caught up in this world of energy and information, but at the same time, we are also caught up in just too much thoughts, too many thinking capacity. And today we are just loading our computer. The brain is nothing but like a computer, and we are just loading up ourselves with information that we don't really need. What we need in each moment is not what we carry from yesterday and the day before. In fact, a lot of people, as you become more spiritually advanced on the path, as you get closer back to your being, you would find one clinical symptom, and that is the memory will start to reduce a bit. And don't get bothered too much about that. Don't think that you're getting Alzheimer's. It is not that. What you're doing is erasing memory. You're erasing the past, which is the state you need to be in. Learn to live in the moment. When you live in the moment, memory is not important. Whatever you need in the moment is what you need. The life will be centered in what you are doing, what you're fixed on and right in this moment. So I have noticed, like, for instance, that a lot of things from the past are being erased slowly as I continue the journey that we have taken so far. So don't get too worried about the memory aspect. You would notice that a lot of your memory from the past, good, bad, and the ugly, will all eventually go. And when you learn to live perfectly in the moment, then you would be a blessed human being. You'd be someone who is more in tune with the state, the original state of self. You'll be more in tune with the source itself. So that's a side effect I've noticed in myself, but it has to do with literally decluttering and getting rid of all the memories from the past. A truly enlightened person has no memory of the past. It's not needed. A truly enlightened person is in the moment and living in the moment, in the now. So let's continue the journey that we have started. And so the idea of the brow chakra, so we have left the zone of the 5 chakras, and we're going to come back to that in a short while, because we have to talk a little bit about how we deal with some of those things and how to enhance that dantian further. So the brow chakra, the only reason that we need to meditate as human beings is to fix our problems of overactivity of the mind. In yoga, Patanjali, the sage that brought yoga into the world, he said, when the mind is quiet, you are practicing yoga. He says, actually, yoga is the cessation of mind. And therefore, when the mind is quiet, when it's at peace, when there's actually no activity in the mind, you know what? You are connected to the source. That's exactly what yoga is about. If you want to think of connecting to the divine, it is the same principle. You cannot be there if the mind is always going. Something is happening all the time. And whether you like it or not, we live our lives and we are run from our subconscious with all these ideas and thoughts that have been loaded into us and we have accepted over our lifetime. It's running the life. That's why I've always, and I'm going to touch on it only once, and I promise somebody that I will not talk about it. All the programs, one of the biggest one is 3Ds, disease, degeneration, death. That's a program that is running in all human beings. And the end result is death for all human beings. So I'm going to be leaving that, not to be talking further on that. Let's get back to, so the thought pattern is always there. How do we get rid of that? And we can call it meditation. And in meditation, you actually go to a place where the mind is still and the mind is quiet. Remember, in the stillness and in the silence, the mind stops. And when the mind stops, then you are connected. Now, can you imagine your life? Can you imagine living your life where you don't have to use the mind unless it's needed? And you would only need to use the mind when you become very creative, when you have faced with a situation in your life where you want to create ideas. And the mind in its pure form, in its pure state, purified by eliminating all the crap that we have loaded up into ourselves and carrying in up here, stored up here. It's actually, when it gets to that point, you know what? You will be in a place where you can create stuff. And when you create stuff, the minute a thought is generated or you create an idea, you create thought, you are creating energy. If you create energy, then you are also going to create tiny, tiny matter, particles. Because I'm going to give you an example, and I hope I don't go too far with this. But let's take a virus, and I'm not going to name it COVID. Let's take a virus. And a virus is a physical entity. But everything based on what I've said before, the Holy Triad, a virus has a vibrational component to it. And a virus also has an informational component to it. So here's what. If you can generate the informational pattern of the virus, then you will manifest the virus in your body. If you could generate the vibrational aspect of the virus, you will generate the physical virus in your body. That's quantum theory, quantum physics, quantum biology. So when you have to think of, let's say, any virus, whether it's a dengue, it's COVID, or any type of virus, hepatitis, it is manifested in your body because of how you are thinking. You've created the information. If you create, let's go away from that, and you create a cell, a cancer cell. That cancer cell is created within your body. How it comes, or even if I can say a bacteria or parasite or whatever, is all coming from the microbiome, which we have discussed before. The microbiome. The cells that are called the God cells in your body. They have the potential to become anything. They have the potential to become a virus, a cancer cell. So let's go back to cancer cells. A cancer cell existing in my body, in your body, is coming from a vibrational level, is coming from an informational level. So anybody who has a cancer, who's been diagnosed with a cancer, it is so because you have actually created, whether you're aware of it or not, the informational aspect of a cancer cell. So let's go back. Having said that, let's go back now to what we are talking about. You want to create, you're a creator, and a thought comes up. And that thought is energy. And that energy is carrying, just like the sun, the rays of the sun is vibrational. But guess what? It has tiny particles of light called photons. It's matter, very tiny matter. So when you create a thought comes to you and you create a thought. Just say, let's assume you're thinking of an apple. You create an apple in the mind. That's a thought of an apple. It downloads into the vibrational aspect of an apple. And before you know it, a physical apple comes into your life. This was discussed to a large extent in the last webinar with John and Nilash, within the law, talking about the law of attraction. And so just reminding you that everything is made up of a triad. And a triad is actually, you cannot destroy that triad. I can give you a bit of information that there's no way under the sun that you can have matter all existing by itself, or you can have energy all existing by itself, or information existing by itself. We live in a universe with a holy triad. If you have information, eventually you're going to have vibrations or energy, and you're going to have material as well. In fact, that's how the whole universe exists. That's how the whole universe is. Now, in thinking, we have the capacity to create the world that we want to create. You have the capacity to create anything that you want to have in your life. Because when you do that, you're creating a thought, which is information, which becomes energy, which becomes matter. And if you understand that, you will probably better understand again what was said in the last webinar. The problem we are faced with, we have so many conflicting information that we carry within ourselves so that we are not clear. The mind is not at peace. So first, in order for the law of attraction to work for you and to become a creator of all the things that you want to have in life, and you should have a lot in life because your life is about abundance. You're here to create abundance, not just for yourself, but for everything or everybody around you. So when you actually create a thought again, you are acting on behalf of the source, creating the universe around you. I've challenged people before. Can you create a new fruit that doesn't exist on the planet? And maybe somewhere in the near future, it will appear somewhere on the planet. So the mind must be quiet. We have to get back to the place where the mind is quiet. And how this could happen is getting the solar plexus into a balanced state where it will actually literally have that feedback both ways, up and down, to bring the brain away. So if we sit to meditate, people have been meditating for years and years. And what we discovered is all this meditation people have been doing did not produce a lot. In fact, when we measure the amount of dark energies with an algorithm that we created to measure, all the people who have been doing yoga and meditation, I've said this in my third webinar, that the average level of people on the planet, when we test people all over the place, is about 2 out of 10, which means that our meditation, we never entered into meditation. We were just still on the periphery of meditation. We were never able to achieve the place where the mind can be quiet, as established by the concept of yoga, when there's cessation of the mind. But you see, the world and the society wants you to continue to use your mind. And the society is such that it's going to continue to load you up with information. And it's all running in your mind. You know, we have a virus around and you're going to die. And all this fear comes in and you create all the negative emotions. And I've said before that if you have fear, it is the one emotion that disconnects you. It is the biggest one that disconnects you from the source itself. If you can get rid of fear, if you can be at a place where fear literally is not going to influence your life, then you become a powerful human being. And if you could think for yourself and start to create for yourself, you can then create the world that you want to have or you want to live in. And we are all responsible for the world that we live in. All of us are responsible. Let's go to the next level. The next level is the crown chakra. And that is what is called Ananda. It's way above the body. It's outside of the body. It's the only chakra that exists outside of the body. And that's the chakra that connects you to the whole, the entire whole. Now, we all start off with life where we actually make connections, and we have connections in a closed circle. And we call this our circle. But I'm challenging you in this webinar to start thinking, to connect to everything out there, meaning that you have to become one with the whole. When Jesus made a statement that he was one with the Father, when the Buddha himself in his meditation saw himself connected to the whole and saw himself inseparable, not different from, not disconnected from the whole, he too, and all the other sages and saints, they were one with the source. And therefore you could say one with the Father, in a literal way. So we have to start thinking like that. Again, just like meditation is difficult, I'm going to show you some techniques as in a while that could help us to get to that place. Because meditation is not easy. I've given techniques how to control the mind. And if you could control the mind, then you're a long way ahead. And one technique is learning the art of listening. The art of listening. When you listen, you stop the mind. If you're thinking, you cannot listen. And you can train yourself if you really want to do so. And if you want to train yourself to control the mind by learning the art of listening, that's just one technique. Then I tell you what, you will become a very powerful human being on this planet. Powerful to do what? To create the new world. To create in yourself a new body. To create the things that are necessary for everyone around you. And so we can learn how to create the things that would benefit the whole, because we are here for the whole. We are the whole. Therefore, we cannot look at another human being and see that person suffering or having a lack and not wanting to share. If that doesn't happen, then your crown chakra, the chakra that gives you happiness, or I should not say happiness, but joy or bliss, will not appear in your life. That's the chakra of becoming one with the whole, the crown chakra. So that's the Ananda. So I'll go now further to talk a little bit about how we bring all of this together and how we can, let's say, first learn to control your mind. I'm going to teach you an exercise, a simple exercise that will help to bring the solar plexus into a much more quietened state, so that you get more centered back into your being. And by the way, I have already said quite a bit, but I'm going to share with you, there are certain plants that you can use. The three different levels that we talk about, the state of being, I'll give you an example of a plant that can help you, all of you, collectively as well, meaning that all people can use it. The first level is the state of being, and that helps from the chakras, throat, all the way down to the base chakra. And that particular herb is cat's claw. Cat's claw is available all over the place. You can order it, you can get it on your own. It can come in tincture, it can come in capsule, but cat's claw actually helps at that level. The one that goes into this level is all of you might be familiar with the holy basil called tulsi, and that one actually helps to quieten the mind. So if you use tulsi from time to time, I recommend using the flowers if it is grown in your country. It's just to pick the flowers and make a tea from the flowers. Excellent for calming the mind and bringing the mind into a harmonious place where you can, function in a better way. And the other one up here, it was dealt with in the webinar on cannabis, and that cannabis is actually the one herb that one can use to help to clear that center. Again, it's not about drinking a whole lot of all of these things. It's about using it when you need to use it. You should have some of it available, and you should, I would suggest in the form of a tincture of all three, and probably use it when you feel you need to use it from time to time. I'm not suggesting that you take it every day. I don't think you need to become a slave to taking things on a daily basis like that. You have them available. So it's cat's claw, tulsi or holy basil, and the other one is cannabis. So you're producing anandamides, activating anandamides. And that's the chemical of joy or bliss. Now, I'm going to give you the exercise that helps to bring all of this together, all of what I've been talking about, and that's the solar plexus, because that's the brain that we really want to start to activate. So I'm going to go as far back as possible. This is the lower dantian, and you put your hands on this, so all of you can stand up, put your hands here, and you're going to breathe in deeply. Deep breath in, fill the lungs. And then what you do next is you turn to the left if you want it, or right, whichever way you want to start. So I'm going to turn to the left and turn all the way as I breathe out. And turning the pelvis to the right, as far back as you can go. And then you breathe in, coming back to the center, and you could feel the belly filled with. You're not breathing from the chest, but you're breathing from the belly. And so my lung is filled, and now I'm going to breathe out, and I'm turning to the right this way, and I'm breathing out, and I'm turning the pelvis the other direction. So full exhalation, the belly is sinking in, and then breathing in. Coming back to the middle. Filling the belly with air. It's the lower chest ready. And then again, as you breathe out, I'm turning to the left. Pelvis is swinging to the right. So this is going to the right, the upper part is going to the left. And you're breathing out and breathing in. Coming back to the center. And breathing out. And you could do several rounds of it, and you would feel at peace in yourself, because what it does to your solar plexus, which is the physical component of your lower dantian, and what you're doing is building your lower dantian with that exercise. Now, as the lower dantian gets stronger and stronger and becomes more powerful, your solar plexus is now taking back its rightful place. It becomes the dominant brain, the abdominal brain, as opposed to the upper brain. And this starts to take control of your entire life. You're going to be more peaceful. You're going to be more at ease with yourself, more contented. And that dantian gets stronger and stronger. And the solar plexus also getting to place. Your entire digestive area, the entire state of being from this area downwards gets better and better. Now, there are 5 also in the lower dantian and dealing with the lower dantian, there are 5 major organs. They're called yin organs. These organs generate the dark energies. We've spoken about the bone, the sacral bone, which generates dark energies, which is the self-healing, self-regenerating energies. There are 5 major organs: the liver, the kidneys, the spleen, the lungs, and I think I missed one of them. So let's start all over again. The liver, the kidneys, the spleen, the lung, and I can't seem to remember the other one. Let's start again. Liver, lung. Oh, the heart. I kept missing the heart each time. So those are the 5 organs. I'll just repeat them. Liver, lung, kidneys, spleen, and heart. Those 5 organs, they come from the 5 elements in the Chinese system of medicine. And they are actually connected to the lower dantian. And if you can actually keep those organs balanced, then they will be generating a whole lot of dark energies. Your lower dantian will be filled. And I've given people this before. I don't know if you could read that. So if you look at the screen, you would see the lung, the kidney, the spleen, SP, triple warmer, liver, and heart. And you have 5 major sounds in the vowel. Now, you can activate, another method of activating the sacrum is an O sound, and one for the sphenoid is an E sound. So I'm just going to let you try this one. The one that works for the sacrum, it's an O. It's the alphabet, the vowel O. And if you hum an O sound, I'm going to try to do it, as opposed to an E sound. So these are sounds that you can use and hum the sounds, or you can say it out vocally loud. So we can share this with everyone. It's I put it the wrong side. So these are the vowel sounds for the five actual elements. So if you look at the top, the lung, large intestine, the lung is the originator of the dark energies, and the large intestine carries out that function. The kidney is the next one, and the bladder carries out the function. Spleen, generator of the energy, stomach carries out this function. And the triple worm and heart belongs to the same sound, A. One is a R, one is a A. And the liver, gallbladder, the next sound. So you can actually, like, let's take the lung, the liver, for instance, it's a but you can hum. You might sound like a goat there with a meh sound. That's funny. So there you have all the sounds of the vowels. And those vowel sounds will actually, they resonate with actually I don't know what I'm getting here on this here. Let's take that off. Yeah, these sounds resonate with all 5 organ systems and the 5 elements. And when you use those sounds, invariably, when we see a patient in the practice, what we will do is we'll find the key one that does the whole and makes life easier. But if you don't know the key sound that you should use, like for instance, my key sound is the liver, gallbladder, and it's okay. So you can use all 5 and you balance all the organs. And so with those sounds, you can build the lower dantian. Okay, so those are the 5 sounds that we have available. Let's go back to continuing the lower dantian. When you do meditation, actually in meditating, when you bring this, what you're actually doing, if you could bring the mind very quiet, you will actually activate the lower dantian. That's automatic. But that's very difficult. So what we suggest to people is the technique of actually breathing, because we have taught before the technique of actually slowing down the breathing rate. And if you can get to 3 breaths a minute and 2 breaths a minute, then what you're doing is bringing the brain wave from beta level, alpha level, all the way down to theta and delta. And as you practice, I'm hoping that all of you have been practicing slowing down the breathing. And if you do that, as you get to 3 breaths and 2 breaths a minute, what is actually happening is you are getting the mind at rest. The brain waves are slower and slower. And guess what is happening? At the same time, you are activating the lower dantian. And when you activate the lower dantian is an energy system. The physical aspect of it is actually, again, just to remind you, the solar plexus center, which is a nerve plexus, a physical plexus. The dantian is the sum total of all of that at the informational level, the vibrational level, and manifesting as the solar plexus at the physical level. Now, when you are doing that with the breathing, you are building the lower dantian. And as you build the lower dantian, it actually is transforming your entire life, entire body. You can be recreating with time a new body as well. So continue to practice slowing down the breathing and continue doing what we have been talking about. What you really want to do is to bring the brain into a state where it's completely at peace and relaxed. That's what it means to be peaceful. When you're peaceful, the brain is no longer functioning with all these activities and brain waves going into the beta brainwave state. You're actually going into another level where the solar plexus center is now becoming activated. The state of being is getting back to where you should be. And at the same time, the lower dantian is being built step by step and gets very, very strong. We haven't all reached that level yet, but when it gets to a place where it's extremely powerful, then you can transcend this physical body. You can move into the quantum field and back again. But it all depends on the level of development of your lower dantian. That is so powerful. The lower dantian in most people on the planet right now is extremely contracted. The solar plexus system is all atrophied over the years. The reason our brain functions the way it is right now, and we have so many diseases in the brain, has to do with, again, the negative type of patterns that we carry. Human beings, we have the capacity, although we have the capacity for being intelligent, you don't see unintelligent creatures existing out there. Have you ever seen a stupid rat? Or have you ever seen an idiotic animal? Or maybe a stupid bird? You don't see that happening. Only man has the capacity to becoming unintelligent. And what we have allowed to happen on this planet is to allow ourselves to be first programmed to think a certain way, to program to think that we are not what we are supposed to be. We are the infinite. We are the source itself. Like I said, this webinar was all about we are projected out of the source. We are the source. There's a connection. And when we can get back the mind to be quiet, when we can get back and we're talking essentially about the lower dantian, and that's the third side of the coin, actually, coming to the end of this hour. The third side of the coin is the dantian. We tend to say lower dantian because sometimes we tend to divide it into other areas, but there's only one dantian in reality, and that's existing in the belly area. And that dantian is just a ball of light developing in human beings. And now we're teaching people, showing you how to develop that. And as you develop that, what is going to happen is your life is going to be transformed. So get your focus back into that zone. If you could focus your life on the lower dantian and start to do these exercises, all these exercises we have given in the past, then the dantian will start to enlarge and get bigger and bigger. And I tell you what, you'll be emanating so much energy that people would come to you. They're just like a tree that is filled with flowers, and there's a lot of nectar in the flowers, and honeybees will come from thousands and thousands of miles all over the place coming to that tree just to participate in taking some of the nectar to make their honey. In the same way, the human being, all of us, we have the capacity to enhance that lower dantian or dantian, and enlarge it. And that is what the divine is all about. It is, we can all get to the place where we can become the divine in this living structure, a light body. As I've said before, you already have a light body. The problem of deterioration of this body as we get older, as we age, it is because the life force, the divine force, the dark energies has become so little in us that our bodies will just degenerate and we end up dying. But if we can build that lower dantian, then we have the capacity to live as long as we want to live. We have the capacity to be healthy. We have the capacity to create. All the energies comes from the source into the lower dantian. And from there, you have the capacity now to create. Use your mind to create. Use your mind in a positive way. And the more you use your mind in a positive way to do good things, to create a better place on this planet for everybody. And even if there's only a few of us doing that, all of you and together with myself, then we could change the whole planet. We could change everything around us. But what we want is all human beings to be at that place, not just a few. My desire is to have all human beings reaching that place where they get back to their original state of awareness and consciousness, original state where this body itself can regenerate itself. You know, all these stories that we have been told, the story like, okay, you're going to heaven or you're going to reincarnate. All those, as I've said before, these are only stories. There's no truth in any one of those. The truth is that we are here and we are the divine. Why should we lose ourselves through death itself? Let us all reach a level where we can transcend all of that in this physical body. And what I've just said to you is just simple concepts, simple ideas. First of all, the first thing is changing the mindset in your mental capacity, in your brain. If something happens to us in the past and we didn't like it and we got angry and upset, guess what? It creates a set of neurons that reminds you constantly. These neuronic connections in your brain carries that anger, and it will make you behave and continue to act in a certain way. If you develop fear for whatever reason, you create neuronic connections that keeps that fear, and you have that fear all your life. Why do you want to live like that? And the answer is a very simple one. Come back and focus on the solar plexus, physical plexus, but more so start working on developing the lower dantian, the dantian, which is the source of all the divine. It is fed by, in some way, from your sacral bone. That generates dark energy. It's all about generating enough energies. You see, if you want to go from point A to point B, you need something. You need energy at the end of the day. If you're going to walk, you need energies. If you're going to go with a car, you need fuel. If you're going to fly, you need jet fuel. And the fuel for our lives, to run our lives, is that dark energy. And from that dark energies, we have the capacity to create light or life force to manifest what we want. But the planet, we are living in a planet where the majority of human beings have very little dark energies. And so we are incapacitated. We're not ourselves. We're not the divinity that is projected out of the source. That is this. What we need to understand is that we need to get rid of all the memories, all those bad things. And if you want to get rid of all the fear and all the anger and the hate and whatever else we are carrying in ourselves that is just what you can consider to be the bad germs inside of us, they are going to manifest in the physical form eventually. If you want to get rid of all of that, then start thinking differently. Start understanding that you are the source itself. Start thinking that you're not smaller than the source. You're just a manifestation of the source and the form. And come back to yourself. There are simple exercises. I do not try to sit quietly and meditate anymore. I prefer to just do the things that would bring me into that state and continue to build that energies and the dantian. At the end of the day, it's going to work for you. How can you create something good if there's a ton of bad inside of us? All stored in the computer. That's where it's stored. What can remove it? No matter how you try by using your thoughts to remove it, you will not remove it at all. It will still be there. You'll be fighting all your life with it. How to remove it? Let's get back to our center. Let's go back to the place where we really belong, the state of being. And the word being is not a static word. It's a word that is continuously growing. It's becoming all the time. It's one step closer and closer back to the source. That's what being is all about. And it's actually made up of a very simple physical system. The sacrum, the sphenoid, which means the skull, the pelvic structure, and the spine. And if you can get that working, you've started the journey. Then you start working on quietening the mind. And quieting the mind, go back to your solar plexus, the state of being. And when you're in a state of being, the thought starts to reduce. Thinking stops. When you need to think, you will be able to think. It is literally funded by the solar plexus. Energies go up to the brain. So people who become genius in life, all the energies are coming from low down. It gets up to the brain when it's needed. And you only act when you need to act. Don't you think that if you can envision or think of an individual like they would be very peaceful, they would be filled with energy? Just a simple touch from them would help you on your way. They will be sharing energies with you. A very serene person is a big asset in any environment, in any society. And anybody who is in a quiet state, and the mind is at peace, is a powerful individual. Because if they think of something powerful, they will manifest powerful things. It becomes reality. So I think my hour must be close to being up. That's it, boy. And so we'll kind of bring this to an end. And maybe now we enter into the question mode, and if we need to repeat anything or maybe clarify things, we'll do that. John.
Harry, again. Yes. No, you're cool. You're cool. It's always good to have people in the good flow state to continue in the flow state, because that's when the magic happens. So I that was wonderful. And for those that have questions, yes. So those who have questions, we're going to go through them. There's a lot of great questions, Harry. So
okay.
So real quick, I'm going to go. So for those who have questions, ask them in the chat, and I'm going to move them over to the Q&A. I'm going to I'm going to give preference to those that asked earlier in the talk and go to most current. Real quick, guys, I'm just going to take a moment just to go over the Vitality Academy. I just want to take just a brief moment to go over that while you ask your questions and you get your questions ready. So let me share that. Harry, can you let me know when the slide's up, when you see my share screen come up?
Yeah, your screen is up.
Okay, beautiful. So those of you who don't know, this what we're doing here is part of the Vitality Academy. And actually, we ask at the end of every webinar, so at the end of this one, you guys are going to get a question, say, what were your thoughts on this webinar? And Dr. Harry actually did 3 back-to-back webinars, which are profound on the dark energy. So if you're confused and confounded and say, what the heck's this dark energy stuff? That is in the Academy, okay? And it's literally www.vitalityacademy.net. But he explains it, he goes into depth with it, and it was one of the more, I would say, profound topics from my perspective, and I think it'd be highly beneficial. If it's something you missed, check it out. So, and again, you have 2 options. You can either invest in these individually, or if you just join the monthly membership, you can watch them all as much as you want, as long as you're a member. So I would check them out, because honestly, if this is your first time seeing Dr. Harry and you're like, wow, this is profound stuff. He mentioned the dark energy, and I would strongly encourage you to check it out, because it really will expand your way of thinking. And I think for many people with physical ailments, it has the potential to have a profound healing benefit for you. So, all right. So with that should be disappearing. And let me jump into the question. So we do have a lot, Harry. So if we can go maybe a little bit faster when we do questions, because we have 20 minutes, but we'll do the best we can. So on the breathing exercise, which was the one with the right hand, right?
Yes.
How long do you do that exercise? Was it just a certain number of breaths?
People always ask about how long and how many times you do these exercises.
Mm-hmm.
Let it be part of your life. And let's say if you're doing this exercise, what you're doing is moving energies from the sacrum up into the brain area, and also building the lower dantian. So I would say, start with small amounts, maybe about 5 to 10 breaths, and then continue. And as long as you enjoy doing what you're doing, continue to do it. Any exercise that I do, as long as I'm enjoying it, I would continue. And when I feel I get a sense within me that I have had enough, then I stop. So I don't tell myself, well, I'm going to do 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. I ask people to start slowly and then build up. And as you do these exercises, you would notice changes within yourself. You feel better while you're doing these exercises. And if you're feeling good for a while, you have nothing else to do for a short while after that, then you continue doing what you're doing. So I always say do 108 of those up and down, the one with the stretch. Because I have found that that number, it makes a big difference for your entire day. So I do that every day, about 108 times. I mean, sometimes I would be doing it and I've done about 250. I'm not saying that you need to do that, but I've just kind of pushed myself a little bit and felt good about it and just would do more, but very rarely in that category. So I stick to essentially about 108 every day.
Okay. And something I would notice, someone who's been doing this for several years, as you start, your sensitivity to feeling the energetic change won't be as strong. But now, like when Harry was doing it, I just started it, and you immediately feel it. So with practice and maybe as your energy raises, you'll become more sensitive to it, and you will notice it quicker. All right, Bernadette has a question. Does tilted sacrum show physically? Meaning someone with an obvious cock bottom, can they actually have the sacrum tilted the wrong way for energy?
Well, I'll tell you, one way of just sitting, I've said this in one of the webinars, when you sit, and if you try pushing your sacral bone out as much as possible, if you find it difficult, then you know it's tilted in. And if you're pushing it out and it goes easily without any problems, then you can test yourself. And the way to test yourself, if you're in the right position, is put one hand on your chest, one on your stomach. Well, maybe I'll have to do it standing up. All right, one on the stomach, one on the chest, and take a deep breath. And if you are sitting with your sacral bone actually out, you will only breathe from your belly. So if I sit and I tilt the sacral bone inwards and I take a deep breath, I will find
you feel the chest.
The chest is going to go as well. So the test for checking your sacral is you sit at the edge of the chair, your feet on the floor, and you push the bone as far as you can. And if you find it is tilted and stuck, you will find difficulties with it. But on a daily basis, if you just sit and do that's one of the techniques I recommend to people instead of meditating. You sit in that posture and use your hands in any which way you want, whether you put your hands up in the air like this, or whether you can do this if you want, whatever posture your hand or position. Then you sit quietly in that position, because the energies of the sacrum will ascend and it will eventually quieten the brain. And everything will happen. We're doing nothing except allowing the energies to do the work for you. And gradually with time, you'll find that the mind gets quiet and you're okay.
Awesome. Zalahar had a question. Can the conch shell exercise be done sitting? Well, you just kind of said that it can be done sitting, but I think
all these exercises could be done sitting as well, and even lying down. But you see, lying down gives a different kind of energy, profile, in your system, because when you lie down, you may have the tendency to fall asleep, and then depending on the bed that you're lying, your posture is not good enough for the type of breathing. I would say standing and sitting correctly is the best for the exercises.
Okay.
And I think everybody, people who cannot stand, remember this exercise that we did when you cross the legs at the knees, and you cross the elbows and up. Now, some people cannot do that, but you could do it sitting, and you achieve the same benefit. You cross sitting down, and you can't see it now, and you cross the arm, and up in the air, and you breathe. And you would, in that position, you would also be activating the lower dantian too. That's a very powerful exercise, John, and you others out there, because it actually works on your lung, your diaphragm, but it is activating the lower dantian and the solar plexus.
So for that one, for those,
Yes.
no, I was just gonna say, for those who missed that one, just as Harry said, you cross your knees at your knees, you cross your arms at your elbows, and then you just look up and you breathe.
Yes.
I would encourage, if it's the first time doing it, get into a corner of a room, because you may have balance issues. So it'll
Right.
kind of be a place that you can kind of better protect yourself. But yeah, okay. So that's another one that could be used to do the similar kind of thing we're talking about
Yes.
today. Okay.
Before the next question, I discovered by way of testing herbs in the past and even now, and I did a lot more recently, the herb Bacopa monnieri.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it in many shops. In fact, in Superfarm in Trinidad, and you can get it anywhere in any herbal shop. It's an Indian Ayurvedic herb. I'll tell you, I'll give you a little hint on that. That actually works on all three levels of yourself. It actually has an effect on what I call the joy level. Remember the Sat.Chit.Ananda? There's one herb that I found so far that does all three. So don't go rushing, getting all of it, but get a bottle sometime. It's right now it's available at Superfarm in Trinidad, so you can get it from there.
A personal story. I actually started using Mentat a couple years ago, which is about 95% Bacopa.
Right.
And my mind, Shari, those who know my wife, she's like, John, your mind has never been so sharp. So it made like everything clearer. So it's a very profound. So as you said, it must be aligning a lot of stuff to do that.
Yes, all three levels, and it actually is working on the solar plexus, the brain. So it is also calming the brain and activating the dantian too. So it's a very powerful herb.
It's probably the most bitter thing I've ever tasted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes Zava peak. It's like Zava peak, Okay, Bernadette. No, I'm not really sure I fully understand the question, but maybe you'll get a better reference to it. How do I show my 81-year-old mom that being is the new doing?
Send her to Trinidad. Wherever she is.
Wherever she is, yeah.
I don't know. The thing is that if you can get these people to do some of these exercises, I think the older people can sit down and cross their legs and do the breathing. I've seen people in the 80s, sitting and doing that exercise. I teach them in the practice. What you need to do is not to try to convince them that it is the being. What you do is give them the exercises. They're all very simple exercises. And if you can even start with the one that we're talking about, crossing the knees, right, and crossing the arms and allowing them to breathe, that's a very powerful exercise. It builds dark energies, it expands lungs, it's a longevity exercise as well. So what you need to do is not to be too concerned about what being is, but doing these exercises can get them into the state of being, or even to get them to hum. Now, it may be difficult to get a 70 or 80-year-old, not so good health, to actually slow down the breathing. But what you can do is let them take a deep breath, like, and hum. And if you keep on humming like that, the chances are that you will slow down the breathing. And as you slow down the breathing, because remember, breathing in and humming, most people will come to the practice and say to me that I can't do 2 breaths a minute. But guess what? 10 seconds they could breathe in and 20 seconds they can hum. And that is 1 breath and half a minute. So I show them that they can actually slow down the breathing to 2 breaths a minute. And they feel wonderful after a while.
So how long in?
Well, no, what I'm saying is that I mean, I just do a test with a stopwatch. So even
Yep.
if they do 5 seconds or 10 seconds, I'm going to show you. Suppose someone could do 5 seconds breathing in and even hum for 15 seconds. That's 20 seconds for a breath. That's 3 breaths a minute.
Okay. Yep.
So these are simple exercises anyone can do. And once you can do that and you practice daily, then they're going to get into the state of being.
True. Well, what I find also is the humming really makes it easy to extend the breath because you're doing something versus
Yeah, well,
just.
that's exactly, John, what I'm saying. That when you
Okay.
hum, you can extend the breath, and you end up, doing what you think you couldn't do.
Okay. All right. We have a fair amount more questions. So Rose said, "What about negative people? Sorry, negative energy from other things and people. So what about their negative energy?"
Well, we have said before in the previous webinars, and I'll repeat it again, as long as you start building what I consider to be dark energies, the energies from outside, it doesn't matter whether it's a virus, doesn't matter whether it's an energy from a person who has a very, toxic energies, they're no longer going to have any negative impact on you, because dark energies, I'll tell you what, we have said before, if you generate enough dark energies, a virus will apoptose in your body. A cancer cell, if you form one cancer cell, and before it can multiply and become 1,000 and 10,000 cancer cells, will apoptose too. And bad energy is coming in. Plus, if we carry, let's say we're carrying resentment in ourselves, as we build more and more dark energies, all of that will eventually clear. Dark energies is like a black hole. It takes away everything that is against life. That's why we spent 3 webinars talking about dark energies, simply because if you practice, your body, your immune system gets pretty strong, but at the same time, you don't have to use the immune system doesn't have to work to destroy bacteria and viruses and so on. The dark energies does the work.
Okay.
I think the statement I made in the webinar was the immune system gets quiet. They'll become like the guards at Buckingham Palace. They're there, but they don't have to work at all.
Yes. Yep.
So toxic energies from other people, negative energies from other people will no longer bother you.
Awesome.
Okay, next question.
Next question. How do you know when the lower dantian is open and activated?
Well, let's put it this way. How do you know when you have eaten enough? Let's say, as an example. It takes a long time. People will eat and eat and eat again. Like a good example, I'm using that as an illustration, because people will eat dinner and they don't want any more. And then the dessert comes and they go and spoil everything because they didn't have a plate of dessert. All right. And they make a mess of the digestive system. So sometimes we don't have an awareness of how much we need to eat and when to stop. In the same way, what the question is being raised is that when that lower dantian starts to get energy, you would have healthier state. Your mind will be more at peace. You will have more energies to do the things that you want to do, and you'd want to do more. Meaning that if you have more energies, then you are able to do and accomplish a lot more in your life. So you will see the fruits of it. The fruits of the lower dantian getting more filled with its energy and its power is that you become more calm, you're more relaxed, more contented, things happening more positive in your life, So you will see the fruits of it. By the fruits, you get to know what is happening.
Okay. And the one where you grab the right hand, so the conch or conch, you with the right hand grabs the left,
right?
And then that thumb
you turn the hand around. So what you're doing is the left hand is facing this way, the other one is facing you this way. Grab the thumb. Right, exactly, and then swing around like this.
Swing around, and then index finger touches the thumb.
Right.
Okay. Beautiful. A couple people had questions on that, so. Okay. Thank you.
And that's a right hand conch shell. And that that also brings you to a peaceful state. The actual solar plexus calms down, right? The brain activity reduces and energies flow easier up the spine.
Okay. And can that be done at any time during the day?
Anytime during the day.
Okay. When you do the sounds, do you
Right.
focus your mind on the specific organ itself?
Yes, it is always interesting. Whenever you do anything in life, whether you're eating food, breathing, keep your mind, keep the intention part or the informational part active. So if I'm treating my liver, my mind and hand should be on my liver. If I'm treating, let's say, my brain, you can either take the tongue and touch the roof of the mouth and you are focusing on the brain. So the intention or the information should always be there.
And then someone's asking, can you show the card again on the screen for the
card?
Yeah, all the different sounds. So maybe just hold it there for 15, 20 seconds. So guys, so lungs is E, kidney O, spleen U, TW. What the heck is that?
That's triple
Which one's
warm.
A?
Triple warm is
Triple
the fire
warm.
element with the heart. But the
Okay,
triple warm is the A as in ah.
Okay.
And the heart would be A as in A as in he.
Okay. And then E as in ear is the liver. Okay.
That's liver and gallbladder. Good.
So guys, hope you got a chance to write it down because everyone's like, I want to see the card again. Okay.
Take a picture of the screen.
Yeah, take a picture while Harry has it up. Someone's asking, so you can answer this while we hold up. Can you drink holy basil every day?
Well, as I said, I think I did said we don't need to be drinking all of this all the time. Learn to develop your intuition. You know, you have these herbs available, and what you need to do is intuitively what you need to take. You know.
And is there a local name for cat's claw?
In the Spanish countries, uña de gato. That's funny, John. Cat's claw. I have a cat's claw vine. I mean, at my in Ishtara.
Okay.
I think I could take this off now. Hopefully, they got
should be good by now.
pictures. It's an interesting herb.
Okay.
And it has a wonderful flower.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it blooms. It blooms around May every year. It was blooming during this COVID time. You know, May. That's a couple of months ago.
Okay. Ronald Clark is asking, could you explain the manifestation of the viruses through the vibrational and informational level, please?
Can I explain the
manifestation of viruses through the vibrational and informational level?
Well, the thing is that, you know, I think I made mention, I'm trying to remember where this happened. It could have been in one of the webinars. If you take a virus that is physical, you see, my point about, let's talk briefly about the COVID. So we have a virus, COVID-19, SARS-CoV-19. That virus has a vibrational component to it. And that's in physics. Mm-hmm. Like I said, everything that is material has a vibrational component. Just like a piece of gold has a vibrational component at the atomic level. And it's all frequencies. So there is a special frequency for this virus. So you cannot say that it is just a virus and it doesn't have a vibration. You know, and then you have an informational aspect. So if you can create the informational aspect in yourself, then you could create a virus. And if you have the vibrational aspect, you can create the virus as well. That's everybody who does, look at physics and quantum physics knows that everything has three components. And so I don't know if I have already answered the question, but I'm just clarifying what I said early on, that if in our minds we have the informational pattern of, let's say, a cancer, Now, how do you develop an informational pattern of cancer? Most people don't know. They just end up with a lump somewhere or a tumor somewhere and realize that, okay, the doctor says you have a cancer, a growth, a tumor. But if that happened, it means somewhere in the past, we carried the informational and vibrational aspect of that. Otherwise, it could not manifest in your body. But let's look at some of the negative things that we can carry: anger, hatred, bitterness, resentment, fear. So once we carry all these negative emotions, that's information, and then it becomes vibrational. Then it becomes manifested in the physical form as cells. How does it happen? It doesn't start from zero. It starts from our microbiome. And the microbiome will be influenced by the data that you are downloading. And the microbiome eventually changes, morphs into whatever. So you could create a bacteria in your kidney by just creating fear. The different emotions for the 5 organs that we spoke about, I'll just mention it so you get an idea. Overexcitement affects the heart. Fear affects your kidneys. Anger, vexations, irritable states, impatience affect the liver. Worrying affects the spleen, stomach, that zone. And what's the other one? Grief affects the lung. So all these emotions, we all go through all of them in our lives. And if they stick around for long enough, they will manifest themselves just as much as what you all did in the law of attraction. If you hold a thought in your mind, let's say a thought of a new car, if somebody comes and says, John, that is not going to happen, and you accept it and you create doubt, then the information goes. But if you hold that information long enough and you know that it is going to happen, you fund it with feelings, and that's you come back to the lower dantian and the solar plexus. So the thought could be generated, and when you fund that with feelings, a good feeling about it, it will manifest. That's how the universe operates. And everybody can participate in that in their lives and create the life that they want, and create all the material things that you want. But be also prepared not to sit under a tree and hope that it will fall off the tree or maybe fall from the clouds.
Okay, so we have a few more, but I'll just do one more because we're at our time. So this will be last one from Anne Marie. Does the ego take over at all when the dantian becomes enlightened? People will be coming to us, but will we be selfless?
Just repeat that quickly because
That's okay. Does the ego take over at all when the dantian becomes enlightened? People will be coming to us, but will we be selfless? It's kind of chopped up, but I think I understand what she means.
What I anticipate or what I know is that the ego gets less and less as the dantian gets better and better. The ego has to do a lot more with the brain thinking, the rational, logical thinking. Then that creates separation. That creates the sense of self as a separate unit from the whole. As you get more and more closer into your dantian, you merge in. We spoke about the oneness and everything. You become one with everything. You don't see yourself separate from anything. How are you going to treat another person if you feel that you are one with them? You treat them just like yourself. Like one master said, love one another as you love yourself, or love your neighbor as you love yourself. So ego gets less and less out of the way. It's a big change, transformation in the life that you see yourself as part of the whole and serving the whole.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Harry, we are at our time. It has been wonderful. I really enjoyed this talk. Thank you so much for taking the time and for really embracing all this great information and sharing with us. Wonderful amount of exercises too. Hopefully everyone took really great notes, and we appreciate all that you brought today. And you want any last words before we go?
Well, just go home and start thinking differently. Understand, come to a knowing. You have to start with a knowing that you are the source itself, that you have the capacity to attain that concept of Sat.Chit.Ananda, which is nothing but developing and growing your dantian. And the simple exercises, you can explore that on your own, all of you. Those in Trinidad, we still continue, and I'm not doing this as an advertisement because that's not my objective, but we still continue to do, and this coming Wednesday, I'm going to do a group of 9 people where we can have a more intimate connection with and teach people in groups. My objective at the end of the day is to continue working with groups of people, like 9 people, and help them to get together and continue to work as a group. Let's assume in the future we develop 1,000 groups and they're all connected together, then growth is accelerated.
Mm-hmm.
So my idea is to give all the information. I look for the simple things in life. All the teachings that I'm putting across to people and the techniques are extremely simple.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in the concept that truth is simple and complicated stuff is not the truth. So when something is too complicated, I run away from it. It must be very simple and for everyone to practice. So your life becomes very simple. We want to live ordinary lives, which is the uniqueness of our thumbprint. All right. Well, good.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And if you guys want to watch this again, you can check out the replay on the Vitality Academy. So if you want to take notes, and of course, feel free to support us and check out the other webinars that we have in the library. We have 11 or 12 now, so we have quite a library as well as the ones that Dr. Harry did on dark energy. So have a great night. Watch this again. There's a lot of great value in this. So Dr. Harry, thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Good. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.